Welcome back to my YouTube channel, everyone. I'm so glad to have you here again. Whether you're a long-time subscriber or this is your first time stumbling across our little corner of the internet, you're in for a real treat today. Settle in, maybe grab a drink or a snack, because today's story is unlike anything you've heard before. This isn't just another story about rare coins or historic artifacts. This is the story of a single 1-cent coin minted in 2016 that somehow, against all odds, turned into a $568 million fortune and shook the entire world of numismatics, collectors, and even financial institutions to their core. It all started quietly enough. You see, in 2016, the United States Mint produced billions of pennies, just as they always do. Pennies are usually forgotten, left in couch cushions, dropped on sidewalks, or tossed into jars to gather dust. But hidden among the flood of everyday coins was one singular penny that would change history. No one noticed it at first. It looked just like the others: Abraham Lincoln on the front, the Union shield on the back, that familiar copper color that isn't even real copper anymore. There was no sign that this penny was anything special. No strange markings, no flashy metal gleam. It passed through vending machines, pocket change, cash registers, and car cup holders without drawing a single second glance. That was until a man named David Harland found it one rainy afternoon. David wasn't a professional coin collector. He wasn't even a casual hobbyist. He was a janitor at a local high school, and on that particular afternoon, while cleaning out the cafeteria, he noticed a lone penny on the floor. Maybe it was boredom or curiosity that made him pick it up instead of sweeping it into the trash. Maybe it was fate. He slipped it into his pocket and thought nothing of it. Weeks went by, and that penny sat forgotten on his kitchen counter, mixed in with some receipts and broken rubber bands. Then one night, David was watching TV, flipping channels without much interest, when he stumbled onto a late-night documentary about rare coins. Something about the shapes of the coins they were showing on the screen triggered a memory. He remembered the weird way the penny he picked up had felt heavier in his hand than usual, almost warmer, as if it was something alive. He shrugged it off, but curiosity gnawed at him. He got up, found the penny among the clutter, and held it up to the light. There was nothing unusual he could see with his eyes. Still, feeling foolish, he opened his laptop and started comparing it to images online. That's when he noticed it: the edges of the coin weren't perfectly round. There was a subtle, almost invisible warping that no other penny seemed to have. Intrigued, he took a magnifying glass from an old science kit his son had outgrown and looked closer. He gasped. Embedded so finely along the rim that it could only be seen under magnification were tiny symbols that didn't belong on any US currency. Still thinking it was probably just a manufacturing error, he decided to post about it on an obscure online forum dedicated to coin collectors. Most people ignored him. A few trolls mocked him. But one user, whose screen name was Old Mintman, messaged him privately. He asked for photos, high-quality ones, taken under different lighting. David complied, thinking it was all a waste of time. But within hours, the collector was begging him not to show the penny to anyone else and offered him $50,000 on the spot. David laughed it off. $50,000 for a penny? It sounded like a scam. But Old Mintman wasn't giving up. He explained that there were rumors, whispered among only the oldest and most secretive numismatists, about a coin that was supposed to have been produced in 2016 as part of a secret project. Supposedly, the US Mint had collaborated with several experimental labs on creating a quantum coin, a concept combining cutting-edge nanotechnology with traditional minting. The project had been scrapped for reasons unknown, and all prototypes were thought to have been destroyed, except one had survived. David wasn't sure what to believe. He still thought it sounded ridiculous, like something out of a sci-fi novel. But he was broke, drowning in bills, and curious. He decided to take the coin to a local pawnshop. He figured if it was really worth anything, they could at least point him in the right direction. The pawnshop owner, a greasy man with thick glasses, went pale when he saw the penny. He refused to touch it. Instead, he made a quick phone call, speaking in hushed, urgent tones. David, sensing something weird was happening, snatched the penny back and left in a hurry. That night, strange things started happening. Black SUVs parked outside his house. His internet connection became spotty. His phone buzzed with strange calls from unknown numbers. David knew he had to act fast. He contacted Old Mintman again, who revealed himself to be Dr. Edwin Malkovich, a retired director from the U.S. Mint's experimental division. Malkovich explained that the coin contained an embedded structure at the atomic level, allowing it to manipulate electromagnetic fields. In simpler terms, the coin itself was a key, an object capable of activating hidden systems, unlocking technologies decades ahead of anything public, and here's where it gets even crazier. It wasn't just a key. It was a map. Through a sequence of electromagnetic signatures, the coin pointed to a hidden vault located deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. In the 1970s, anticipating global economic collapse, a coalition of governments had hidden trillions of dollars worth of resources and technologies underground. The 2016 quantum penny was supposed to ensure access only to those deemed worthy. But the project had been buried under secrecy when it was deemed too risky. David didn't know what to think. Could he really be holding the key to unimaginable wealth? He decided to trust Malkovich, mostly because he had no one else to trust. Together, they embarked on a journey across the country, dodging government agents, private security forces, and mysterious organizations that seemed to materialize out of nowhere. Their journey took them through deserted highways, ghost towns, abandoned research facilities. All the while, the coin seemed to guide them, emitting faint pulses that could only be detected with special equipment Malkovich had secretly kept for decades. It was like living inside a high-stakes treasure hunt, only the prize was bigger than they could have ever imagined. Finally, after months of travel and close calls, they reached a small, unremarkable cabin in Colorado. Beneath it, according to the coin signals, lay the entrance to the vault. They found a hidden elevator shaft sealed behind a false wall. Using the penny as a key, literally placing it into a strange slot that looked too intricate to have been human-made, they activated the mechanism. The wall groaned and shuddered open. The elevator descended for what felt like hours. When the doors finally opened, they stepped into a vast underground chamber glittering with treasures beyond belief. Gold bars stacked like skyscrapers. Crates of rare earth metals. Strange machines humming with quiet power. And data that could change the course of human history. There was so much wealth that estimating it was almost impossible. But when appraisers were later brought in, they valued the entire vault at over $568 million just for the materials alone. The true value, including the technologies and blueprints found within, was said to be in the trillions, though those figures remain classified to this day. David didn't keep all the money. After all, what he had discovered technically belonged to the government, or so they claimed. But a deal was struck. David and Malkovich received a percentage as finder's fees, enough to make them both unimaginably rich. David's life changed overnight. He went from struggling janitor to philanthropist, investor, and even an advisor for secret tech projects he still wasn't allowed to talk about. The 2016 penny itself now sits in a special vault, protected by layers of security most people can't even imagine. Some say it's guarded 24/7 by military forces. Others say it was destroyed to prevent anyone else from accessing similar vaults scattered around the world. But there are whispers, always whispers, that other coins were made, other keys still floating out there in circulation, mistaken for ordinary pennies, nickels, dimes. David's story became legendary among collectors. Coin auctions started seeing unprecedented bids on 2016 pennies. Some people sold their entire collections just to get their hands on rolls of 2016 mints, hoping lightning would strike twice. But so far, none have surfaced with the same properties. And what of David? He moved to a secluded estate somewhere in the Pacific Northwest. Occasionally, he makes anonymous donations to universities studying quantum materials and advanced electromagnetism. Every now and then, someone claims to spot him at obscure tech conferences, disguised under a hat and sunglasses. But mostly, he stays out of the public eye, perhaps wisely. After all, wealth of that magnitude brings not just comfort but danger. The story of the 2016 penny that became worth $568 million isn't just about money. It's about possibility, about the hidden layers of our world waiting to be uncovered by those curious, or lucky, enough to look closely. It's about how even the smallest, most insignificant thing can change your life forever if you pay attention. And it's a reminder that sometimes, just sometimes, the unbelievable isn't fiction. It's just very well hidden. Thanks so much for sticking around to hear this incredible story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe for more unbelievable true stories, mysteries, and deep dives into the hidden corners of our world. Next, 1989 D1 cent USA coin. It's so good to see you here again. Whether you're joining us for the first time or you're one of our incredible regulars who keeps coming back for more stories that blend mystery, history, and jaw-dropping facts, today's video is going to leave you absolutely stunned. You might think you know about rare coins or incredible finds that changed people's lives forever, but nothing, and I mean nothing, can prepare you for the true story we're diving into today. A single, tiny, seemingly worthless 1989 AD penny that turned out to be worth a staggering $334 million and unraveled a hidden world few ever knew existed. It all started, not in some grand auction house or dusty attic filled with treasures, but at a flea market in the middle of nowhere. The kind of place where you can buy a used lawnmower, a bag of marbles, a battered comic book, and maybe a homemade pie all in one trip. It was a sweltering summer day in rural New Mexico when a man named Gabriel Sandoval wandered into the flea market looking for nothing in particular. Gabriel wasn't a collector or even much of a shopper. He was a school teacher on summer break, killing time before meeting some friends. Strolling past booths crammed with knickknacks and junk, Gabriel's eye was caught by an old coffee can sitting on a rickety card table. A hand-lettered sign taped to the can read, "Pennies, $1 a scoop." It was the kind of thing you'd normally walk past without a second thought. But something made him stop. Maybe it was the way the light caught the coins, a glint that seemed almost unnatural. Maybe it was sheer boredom. Whatever the reason, he handed over $1 to the elderly woman behind the table and plunged his hand into the can. He scooped up a handful of pennies and poured them into a small paper bag. Walking away, he juggled the bag in his hand, hearing the coins clink together. It was only later, sitting in his car with the air conditioning blasting, that he absent-mindedly poured the pennies onto the passenger seat and noticed one that didn't look quite right. It was a 1989 AD Lincoln penny, but its surface shimmered strangely. It wasn't the usual dull copper color but had a faint silver sheen underneath, like something trying very hard to look ordinary and failing. Flipping it over, Gabriel noticed the back of the coin bore not the familiar Lincoln Memorial design, but something different entirely. The Union Shield design wouldn't be introduced until decades later, and this wasn't exactly that either. It was a shield, yes, but wrapped in laurels and marked with tiny, almost microscopic writing in Latin. Curious, and with nothing better to do, Gabriel decided to do some research. A quick Google search told him what he already suspected: the design shouldn't exist. No 1989 AD pennies were struck with anything other than the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Still thinking it was some weird counterfeit or a foreign coin mistakenly punched onto a US blank, Gabriel took the penny to a local coin shop the next day. The owner, a crusty man named Ron who had seen just about everything in his 40 years of collecting, took one look at the penny and blanched. Without a word, he locked the shop door, flipped the sign to closed, and pulled the blinds. Gabriel, understandably alarmed, watched as Ron donned a pair of latex gloves, picked up the penny with tweezers, and examined it under a powerful magnifying lens. What Ron saw made him mutter a string of curses under his breath. He explained, in a low voice, that what Gabriel had found was either the greatest hoax ever perpetuated, or a genuine relic from a project so secret, so deeply buried in classified files, that almost no one even knew it had existed. Ron refused to say more, but he offered Gabriel $10,000 cash on the spot for the penny. No questions asked, Gabriel hesitated. $10,000 was more money than he'd ever been offered for anything, let alone a flea market find. But something told him to hold on to the coin a little longer. Politely declining, he left the shop with the penny burning a hole in his pocket and 1,000 questions swirling in his mind. That night, strange things began to happen. His phone rang constantly, but when he picked up, there was only silence. His internet connection, normally rock solid, became spotty and unreliable. Once, stepping outside to clear his head, Gabriel thought he saw a black SUV idling at the end of the block, its windows tinted too dark to see inside. Paranoid but determined, he dove deeper into his research. Hours turned into days. He pieced together old government documents, conspiracy theories, obscure collector forums. What emerged was a tale almost too bizarre to believe. In 1989, during the final years of the Cold War, the US Mint had collaborated with DARPA on a project codenamed EchoScent. The idea was to create a series of untraceable, physically undetectable devices that could store vast amounts of encrypted information. The medium they chose was coins, specifically pennies. Billions of pennies changed hands every day, passing unnoticed across borders and through countless transactions. Embedding information into the common currency would allow for secret communications and data transfers without raising alarms. The program was shut down almost immediately after an internal security breach exposed vulnerabilities. All prototype coins were ordered destroyed. But somehow, impossibly, one had survived. The information embedded in Gabriel's penny wasn't just any data. It was the blueprint for a revolutionary energy technology, something that could make fossil fuels obsolete overnight, something that could collapse entire industries and upend global economies. Whoever controlled the penny controlled the future. Realizing he was in way over his head, Gabriel tried to find someone who could help. He reached out to a few academics, but most brushed him off or didn't respond. Finally, he got a reply from a woman named Dr. Lillian Hayes, a physicist who had once worked on top-secret government projects before being blacklisted for reasons unknown. Meeting in a crowded cafe under the pretense of discussing antique coins, Gabriel showed her the penny. Lillian paled visibly but quickly composed herself. She told him that if the coin was what she suspected, he was in terrible danger. Over the next several weeks, Gabriel and Lillian worked together to unlock the secrets of the penny. Using equipment Lillian had kept hidden in a makeshift lab, they discovered the coin emitted faint quantum signatures, patterns of entanglement that could be decoded into information streams. Slowly, painstakingly, they began to extract the data, but they weren't alone. As news of the penny's existence leaked into certain dark corners of the world, mercenaries, corporate spies, and rogue government agents began closing in. Gabriel and Lillian moved constantly, staying in motels, safe houses, even sleeping in abandoned buildings to stay off the grid. Their journey took them from New Mexico to Nevada to Alaska, following the cryptic instructions encoded in the data. Each step unlocked more pieces of the puzzle: coordinates, cipher keys, schematics. They discovered hidden caches left behind by the original EchoScent team, equipment, notes, and more coins, though none as complete as Gabriel's. Finally, deep in the Alaskan wilderness, they found what the penny had ultimately been pointing to: a hidden laboratory buried beneath a mountain, powered by geothermal energy, completely self-sufficient and untouched for decades. Inside, they found the full blueprint for a zero-point energy generator, a machine capable of producing limitless clean energy by tapping into the quantum vacuum itself. It was the holy grail of physics, the end of scarcity, the beginning of a new era. And they also found something else: a letter, handwritten by the lead scientist of Project EchoScent. It warned that while the technology could save humanity, it could also destroy it if used irresponsibly. The letter urged whoever found it to think carefully before unleashing it upon the world. Gabriel and Lillian faced a choice. They could sell the technology to the highest bidder and become richer than kings, or they could release it freely, risking chaos but potentially saving the planet. In the end, they chose a third path. They created a foundation, anonymously funded, dedicated to slowly and carefully introducing the technology into the world through controlled channels, university research programs, think tanks, small startups. They never took credit. They never sought fame. They disappeared from public life, leaving only ripples behind. As for the penny itself, it was enshrined in a private vault under layers of protection. Today, its estimated worth is $334 million, not because of its materials, but because of the knowledge and power it represents. Most people have no idea what really happened. They only hear whispers, rumors of a flea market penny that changed everything. Some believe it's a myth. Some know better, and somewhere, in a quiet corner of the world, Gabriel Sandoval tends a small garden behind an unremarkable cabin, content in the knowledge that sometimes the smallest things can hold the greatest power. Thank you so much for joining me today and hearing this incredible true story. If you loved it, be sure to stick around, because there are so many more secrets, treasures, and mysteries we're going to uncover together. I'll catch you in the next one.